Out of the three I've seen, Conclave or Wicked.
Yeah, I was gonna say, to be fair, in Conclave, while everybody talks, of that group, the most you hear from are Ralph Fiennes and Stanley Tucci.
Because people were talking about rooting for Isabella Rossellini to get nominated, and that's all the film was like. She's in like a few
Yeah,
scenes.
she makes some faces and has like 4 lines. She doesn't really do much.
If you're hearing this, we welcome you to another episode of It's a Streamable Life podcast with Brandon and Lorin. It is our second episode of 2025, and this episode is dedicated to movies. So, first, before we get started, we do want to send out heartfelt condolences, thoughts and prayers to those being affected and impacted by the wildfires in Southern California. It's The conditions seem to be getting better. They're containing a lot more of the fires. There's 2 still going on right now, but there's thousands of people that are without homes right now, without supplies and stuff. So if you find links to donation places, GoFundMe, whatever, please think of donate or at least share the links so others can. It's just a real tragedy. It's funny. I was thinking the other day how this is like the 4th year in a row where Hollywood's been impacted by some type of great catastrophe.
Yeah, yeah, it's been really bad. It's interesting to watch though because here we have nothing that can compare to that. Nothing that moves that quickly. I mean, we have
Yeah.
tornadoes, but on Monday that a storm is possible of producing a tornado on Wednesday. So you've got time, but this is it's been insane to watch how quickly it's moving.
Yeah, and I watched a short video where a woman basically explained like the science behind it, how California specifically has a lot of vegetation that is just sort of naturally dry, and because we
Right.
haven't treated it carefully and with care, it's very it's supposed to be non-flammable, but it has become very flammable. So that's why we get
Wow.
the dryness, and with climate change, the lack of rain, and those hurricane style winds
Yeah, it's
with the
insane.
dryness is crazy. I didn't realize that was causing it. So yeah, just still prayers out to everyone out there. Hopefully they get everything contained and people can start getting the help they need.
Right.
Or like we said, this week we're focusing on the films side of our podcast, and we would have had the Oscar nominations to discuss, but they have been pushed back because of the wildfires. So we're going to do some retroactive discussing here. First, we're going to talk about the Golden Globe winners. That ceremony was back in January. Well, we're still in January. It was earlier this
Right.
month. And then we'll talk about the recently announced Screen Actor Guild's nominations for film, and then the BAFTA films that were just announced. And between those two, the BAFTA kind of helps push sort of the final suggestions for the Oscar shortlist. So, just to start right off the bat, did you watch any of the Golden Globes by chance?
Just a little, not a whole lot. I kind of followed along, but I wasn't actively paying attention, I guess I should say.
Yeah, they weren't too bad. They're actually pretty decent. Nikki Glaser did a great job, I think. She was a lot better than Joy Coy. I don't know
Well, that's
why
good.
he just wasn't good at it. But she's hosted things before, so she was great, and the ceremony moved pretty quickly. Um, there weren't that many surprises. There were some snubs and things like that, but overall was a good time. The Globes tend to know how to put on the show, so
Yeah.
we'll get to the film winners here. Best Motion Picture Drama went to The Brutalist. This is a
Okay.
film starring Adrian Brody about immigrants coming to America and sort of experiencing the American dream.
Yeah.
Motion Picture Musical or Comedy went to Amelia Perez, which is gaining a lot of momentum. I think mostly because it's a female-led film,
Yeah.
um, and the subject matter, but it's also getting a lot of pushback just because of the lack of care with the subject matter and so
Yeah,
on and so
yeah.
forth, from the director specifically. So we'll have to see what happens when it comes to Oscar time if it gets any nominations. Best Motion Picture Animated went to Flow.
Mm.
Um, I've heard some about this. I think it was a surprise that it won. A lot of people thought Inside Out 2 was going to
Yeah,
take that mantle. And then Best Motion Picture Non-English Language was again Amelia Perez. Then we get to performances. Best performance by female actor in a drama was Fernanda Torres. She kind of surprised and upset for I'm Still Here. She's a Brazilian woman, and one of the biggest big deals then was her mother, 45 years prior, was nominated for the same category.
oh wow, that's kind of cool.
Yeah. Best male performance in the motion picture drama was Adrian Brody for The Brutalist.
Yeah, I figured that.
Yeah, he's catching up steam just at the perfect time for the Oscars, definitely. Best performance by a female actor in a motion picture, musical, or comedy went to Demi Moore for The Substance.
Oh, that's
And
yeah,
her speech was sort of phenomenal because she explained this was the first award of her 40 plus year career.
career. Yeah.
So she said she was always told that she was sort of like a comic cotton candy type of actress. She wouldn't be taken seriously. Um, and this role came along around the time she was thinking about giving up Hollywood. So it was sort of like a full circle moment for her.
That's good.
And best performance by male actor, musical or comedy, was Sebastian Stan for A Different Man.
Mm.
Supporting actress in a motion picture went to Zoe Saldana for Amelia Perez. I will say she was good in the movie.
Okay.
Um, and at some moments you think she's the main character because she's used a lot in the film. She was
I
strong.
know from a lot of the clips that I have seen of it, most of it focused on her, or at least
Right.
showing her ability.
Yeah. Yeah, she was the strength of the movie. Supporting actor for some category with Kieran Culkin for A Real Pain. Best director went to Brady Corbet for The Brutalist.
Yeah.
Screenplay went to Peter Straughan for Conclave. Original score was Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross for Challengers.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah. Original song went to El Mal from Amelia Perez. The songs were kind of catchy. I'm pretty sure that's one that Zoe sang, I think,
Yeah.
in midway. And then for cinematic and box office achievement, Wicked took its sole award. Um, so those were the film winners for the Golden Globes. It was surprising to see Wicked sort of just get shut out of everything but sort of like the box office award there.
Yeah.
And many people suspected Denzel to take supporting for Gladiator 2.
Gladiator. Yeah. The thing about Gladiator is that the hype seemed much bigger than the movie itself. Like, I'm not sure of how many people actually went to see it. I don't really know of anybody that went to see it. So,
Yeah, I don't know anyone personally.
yeah.
And then the reviews just weren't stellar. Everything was like
Right.
Denzel's great, and that was it. So I don't know how much you can win off of
Right.
just that. So yeah. And then transition to the Screen Actor Guild Awards. Their nominations. The ceremony will be airing live on Netflix February 23rd at 8 p.m. Netflix is gaining momentum in their live event coverage. We saw the success of the Christmas Day football games.
Yeah.
So hopefully things continue in that direction. But for the film categories here, outstanding performance by a male actor in a leading role, you have Adrian Brody, The Brutalist, Timothy Chalamet, a Complete Unknown, Daniel Craig for Queer, Coleman Domingo, Sing Sing, and Ray Fiennes for Conclave.
Yeah. Okay.
So I've only seen one of those so far. I thought Fiennes
All right.
was pretty good in Conclave.
Yeah, and that's the only one I've seen as well. I almost forgot about Sing Sing.
Right. It's supposed to be back in theaters starting the 17th. Of course, it's not
Okay.
a year, but yeah, it's doing another run. For a female actor in the same category, Pamela Anderson, The Last Showgirl, Cynthia Erivo, Wicked, Carla Sofia Gasson for Amelia Perez, Mikey Madison for Honora, and Demi Moore for The Substance.
Yeah.
Seeing three of those films, Um, I'm giving the edge to Demi or Cynthia. Carla was good, but the film itself, I think, lacks. So, yeah. Supporting role actor Jonathan Bailey, Wicked, Yura Borisov for Anora, Kieran Culkin, A Real Pain, Edward Norton, A Complete Unknown, and Jeremy Strong, The Apprentice. I don't think
I've heard a
Jonathan
lot
Bailey is going
about.
to win that. Oh, go
Would you
ahead.
say?
I said I don't think Bailey is going to win that for Wicked.
No, I've heard a lot of good things about Yura Borisov's performance in Anora, so
Hmm.
that could be one. Uh, People love Edward Norton, so that could be another one, and they love Jeremy Strong too. So I don't know,
Yeah.
it'd be interesting. And
Yeah.
whatchamacallit, Real Pain just came on Hulu. I want to say
Hmm.
last Thursday, so I
Yeah,
have
I
to check
plan to
that out.
check that out. Yeah. Supporting role by female actor Monica Barbaro for A Complete Unknown, Jamie Lee Curtis, The Last Showgirl, Danielle Deadwyler, The Piano Lesson, Ariana Grande, Wicked, and Zoe Saldana, Amelia Perez. Danielle's one of the strongest points of The Piano Lesson, so I'd love her to see her get it. But Ariana was also really good in Wicked. So, uh, cast for a motion picture.
Jeez.
Uh, Complete Unknown,
Hmm.
Honora, Conclave, Amelia Perez, and Wicked. Mm, Out of the three I've seen, Conclave or Wicked.
Yeah, I was gonna say, to be fair, in Conclave, while everybody talks of that group, the most you hear from are Ralph Fiennes and Stanley Tucci.
Because people were talking about rooting for Isabella Rossellini to get nominated, and that's all the film was like. She's in like a few
Yeah,
scenes.
she makes some faces and has like four lines. She doesn't really do much.
Yeah, I was confused. So yeah. So those are and then outstanding performance by a stunt ensemble. Deadpool and Wolverine, Doom Part 2, The Fall Guy, Gladiator 2, and Wicked.
Hmm.
So it's good they're acknowledging the
Yeah.
stunt ensemble people, something that the folks have protested for the Oscars to add a stunt ensemble category. And then on to the BAFTAs. These were announced, I believe, just last week. So we start with adapted screenplay. I like how they just put their awards in alphabetical order.
Yeah, that's helpful.
Adapted screenplay, A Complete Unknown, Conclave, Amelia Perez, Nickel Boys, and Sing Sing. I did not know Conclave was an adaptation, so.
Neither did I.
Animated film, Flow, Inside Out 2, The Wild Robot, Wallace and Gromit, Vengeance Most Foul. Best film, A Complete Unknown, Anora, Conclave, Amelia Perez, and The Brutalist. British short animation, Adios, Mog's Christmas, Wander to Wonder. I have to remember these are the BAFTAs, so there's a lot of
Yeah.
different stuff going on. British short film, Marion, Milk, Rock, Paper, Scissors, Stomach Bug, The Flowers Stand Silently Witnessing. Casting, a Complete Unknown, Honora, Conclave, Kneecap, and The Apprentice. I've heard a
I
lot
just
about this.
watched.
Oh, go ahead.
Are you just about to talk about Kneecap?
Yeah, I've heard a lot about that.
Yeah, it's an Irish group. They're like a hip hop act, but they actually sing in traditional Irish. So they've had a lot of kind of back and forth with the like British arts right now because they're from, I believe they're from Northern Ireland, which is still owned by, not
Um,
owned, but overlooked by England, but they don't get the same representation. So they just won like a big grant, took the money and dedicated and donated to like local things in their area. But
oh, wow.
yeah, so yeah, it's on Netflix now. I've got it in my list. I hope to watch it soon. So
Okay, cool. Children's and family film, Flow, Kensuke's Kingdom, The Wild Robot, Wallace and Gromit, Vengeance Most Foul. Cinematography, Conclave, Dune Part 2, Amelia Perez, Nosferatu, and The Brutalist. Costume design, A Complete Unknown, Blitz, Conclave, Nosferatu, and Wicked. Director, we have Sean Baker for Anora, Edward Berger for Conclave, Denis Villeneuve for Dune Part 2, Jacques Adour for Amelia Perez, Brady Corbett for The Brutalist, and Corley Forget for The Substance. Documentary, Black Box Diaries, Daughters, No Other Land, Superman, The Christopher Reeve Story, and Will and Harper.
Will and
Editing.
Harper's really good. Will and Harper's really good. That's on Netflix as well.
Yeah, I want to check that out. Editing, Anora, Conclave, Doom Part 2, Amelia Perez, and Kneecap. By the way, Conclave led with 12 nominations. Amelia Perez had 11. So that's where
Oh, wow.
we're at with that. The EE Rising Star Award nominees were Marissa Abela, Jarrell Jerome, David Johnson, Mickey Madison, and Naban Rizwan. And 3 of those nominations were all industry alum. So that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, that's good.
And that's publicly voted, so I didn't know that. Film not in the English language, All We Imagine as Light, Amelia Perez, I'm Still Here, Kneecap, and The Seed of the Sacred Fig. And we get to the actor categories. Leading actor, Timothy Chalamet for A Complete Unknown, Ralph Fiennes for Conclave, Hugh Grant for Heretic, Coleman Domingo for Sing Sing, Sebastian Stan for The Apprentice, and Adrien Brody, The Brutalist. That's a pretty stacked category.
Yeah, it is.
Leading actress, Mickey Madison, Anora, Carla Sofia Gasson, Amelia Perez, Marion Jean Baptiste for Hard Truths, and she's making history as the first actress of color to get 3 prestigious critics awards for Best Actress. I think it was the New York Film, LA, and one other one. But she had like the trifecta of Best Actress, so
Wow.
she could storm through. Sorasi, how you say that?
Oh, Saoirse.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Saoirse Ronan, The Outrun, Demi Moore, The Substance, and Cynthia Erivo, Wicked. You have Makeup and Hair, Dune Part 2, Amelia Perez, Nosferatu, The Substance, Wicked. Original Score, Conclave, Amelia Perez, Nosferatu, The Brutalist, The Wild Robot. Original Screenplay, A Real Pain, Jesse Eisenberg, Anora, Sean Baker, Kneecap, The Brutalist, and The Substance. Outstanding British Film, Bird, Blitz, Conclave, Gladiator 2, Hard Truths, Kneecap, Lee, Love Lies Bleeding, The Outrun, and Wallace and Gromit, Vengeance Most Foul. I don't know why it has 10 nominations. It's kind of crazy. Outstanding debut by a British writer, director, producer, Horde, Kneecap, Monkey Man, Santosh, and Sister Midnight. Production design, Conclave, Doom Part 2, Nosferatu, The Brutalist, Wicked. For sound, we've got Blitz, Doom Part 2, Gladiator 2, The Substance, and Wicked. The sound and The Substance, kudos to that team.
It makes it.
Special visual effects, Better Man, Dune Part 2, Gladiator 2, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, and Wicked. And then lastly, supporting actor, Edward Norton for A Complete Unknown, Kieran Culkin, A Real Pain, Yura Borsov, Anora, Clarence Macklin for Sing Sing, Jeremy Strong, The Apprentice, and Guy Pearce, The Brutalist. And supporting actress, Isabella Rossellini for Conclave, Selena Gomez, Amelia Perez, Zoe Saldana, Amelia Perez, Felicity Jones, The Brutalist, Jamie Lee Curtis, The Last Showgirl, and Ariana Grande for Wicked. I know they were making a note that Denzel missed here for the BAFTAs. He's never been nominated for a BAFTA award.
Oh wow.
So I'm not sure what that's about. And then I have no idea when these air. I don't know. I'm sure they list on the website somewhere, but I'm not seeing it right now. I can't remember how I watched those before, or if I did. Sunday, February 16th on BBC One and iPlayer and BritBox in America, in North America. So you can watch them if you have BritBox. And David Tennant will be the host.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. So, with all that said, just thinking of the BAFTA Awards with Conclave and Emilia Perez leading, do we think those will be the kind of favorites over here in the Oscars, or do you think things will kind of switch with the American voters?
I imagine it'll stay the same. I can't see it change too much. It usually doesn't. And while we were reading these off, I was I was trying to think of anything else that came out that was like shocking, and I can't really think of much. But I will say I do hope to see his three daughters when the Oscar nominations come out, because I thought that was so strong. I guess its only fault is that
Yeah,
it's Netflix,
but see,
and
Netflix seems to be pushing Emilia Perez for some
yeah,
reason. Yeah, I heard a lot about his three daughters, and it just seems to be drowned out by
yeah,
Emilia Perez for some reason. Um,
yeah. I don't know. I don't know. I guess this is maybe we're going through a time of musicals right now, or singing and movies and stuff. So that could
yeah,
be part of it.
and that was the thing that threw me. Like, I had no idea that movie had the songs in there. So when Zoe started singing, I was like, "Wait,
Like, what's going
what's
on?
going on?" Um, the film is fine. I think the performances are the best part. But like people said, I before I even read any of the commentary from like the Mexican American community or anything like that, I remember thinking the opening scene, I was like, this feels a little kind of basic. Like, well, and it's not a spoiler or anything, but Zoe is an attorney and she's trying to write her final statement in a case of her client's been accused of murder or something like that.
Oh, okay.
And she's writing her statement, and it goes into this song, and like they specifically show like a bunch of soccer fans and like food vendors, and then they start dancing with her, and it was like, oh, so we're in Mexico? Is that what we're supposed to be deducing from sort of like these very
Right,
stereotypical
right.
signifiers? I it didn't really I didn't really think about it long, but I just thought, oh, this is sort of like very sort of like basic sort of Mexican representation. So people took sort of umbrage with that and some other things with the film. A lot of folks are kind of calling it the Green Book of this year's movies. So we'll see what happens. And then the Oscar nominations actually got pushed back to I think the 25th, if I'm not mistaken. Uh, so they submitted their final votes this past Friday, and then the announcement will be the 23rd. So sometime this week, right? Or next?
Yeah, that is Thursday. I think the 23rd is Thursday.
Okay.
So,
So that's when they'll finally announce them. So we'll find out pretty soon, and then the Oscars are set for March 2nd. Ooh.
should be good.
Exactly. All right. We're going to transition from our feature presentation and get into our streams of the week. All right. So we're here on second episode. We're going to focus on films, of course. Do you want to start with movies we both watched first, or just mention the stuff we watched separately and then talk about the mutual watches?
Yeah, we can do that. Let's go with
Okay.
that.
All right. Cool. Cool. Um. Then I was fortunate enough to get a virtual screening for Nickel Boys through
Oh, okay.
Deadline.com. They just emailed me last week and sent me a screener, and then they had like a Q&A with the director and uh cinematographer.
That's cool.
Um it's a extraordinary film um based on the book by Colson Whitehead about two Florida teens that are sent to a reform school in uh rural Tennessee, or rural Florida. And basically you see the racism, discrimination they go through. It's set in the midst of the civil rights movement. Um, the actors are great. I had seen some of them before, but most of them are pretty new. At least the leads were. Um, the film stars Brandon Wilson and Ethan Hersey, and then some supporting actors are Anjanou Ellis Taylor, Hamish Linklater, and Luke Tenney. Um, Basically, the story eventually reveals some of the heinous behavior that was enacted on them after the reform school, and years later, a discovery on those grounds sort of confirms that a lot more lethal measures were taken on these teenagers, black teenagers. So it's a really good film. Definitely check it out when you get the chance to.
Okay.
I think that's all our separate watches. You go ahead with yours.
Okay. So for me, I watched a couple films, and both of these were on the streaming network, Mubi, and I watched one that was Bird, and this has kind of gotten a little bit of praise from the festival circuit. I think it actually won something, if I'm not mistaken. But it follows a young girl who lives on her housing estate in, I believe, in the United Kingdom, and she is just kind of trying to find her way and uh, going on different adventures. And she kind of meets kind of like a ragtag group of people throughout her days. And it's a really good movie and has some faces that people may recognize. One of them being Barry Keoghan. He's in it, as well as Fran Rogowski, who's a German actor and is in a lot of things. And he's actually the character Bird. So yeah, it's a good film. Definitely one to check out. Not too long, and that's on Mubi. And then the other one I checked out was actually a documentary about. I hope I'm saying this right, but to me it's called Dahomey or Dahomey. I'm not sure of the exact pronunciation, but it was a kingdom in Africa that actually existed, and it no longer exists now. But art from this kingdom, um, which is the Dahomey is now present day Benin, was taken after it stopped being the kingdom of Dahomey and was taken to France. And so a few years ago, France actually gave this art back. And now the people of the community are talking about, what does this actually mean? There's 26 pieces of artwork. And while they're grateful to have it back, there is a genuine, uh, are the French doing this just to save face because of where the world is at this point? And I don't know. It's very interesting and really, really good. And what's one thing that's interesting is how all these countries are kind of getting rid of their oppressors. The United States, they have their paws in everything. You know, you can talk about Puerto Rico and American Samoa and things like that. But I think because we're American, we don't really know of
Mm-hmm.
just how much the French did to Africa. And my goodness, they were literally everywhere. Because even today, I think it was a few weeks ago, another country kicked France's troops out. It's just like, it's been enough. You got to go.
Yeah.
So I think that's really interesting, and I imagine that will probably happen to the United States soon. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
We're on
But
that
yeah, those are the two
trajectory.
I watched.
Awesome, awesome. All right, then we'll get into our mutual streams. First, let's talk about Conclave. What did you think of the film, and how did you feel about the ending, so like the resolution?
Well, I thought that was interesting. I thought I can tell you I did not expect that surprise. And so um, I don't know. I guess I'll say this. I don't think it would have gone down that way in an actual Vatican City, but the way it did in the movie was very, I don't know, I guess right. When you think of God, it's supposed to be this thing that's almost othered and uh, you can't really explain it. And I don't know, that's kind of how the new Pope is in Conclave. So I don't know. I think it made sense.
Yeah, same here. I felt it was sort of like a good ending. It was definitely a surprise, but it did feel a little bit too good to be true, especially um given that it's like given the priest's speech that he gave and how he sort of like was humble and didn't want the position, blah 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 blah, and then that reveal, it was a little bit too like we're a small world after all. Um, but I did like it. The
Yeah.
film was good. I thought the film was excellent. Um, Everyone played their part pretty well. Um, and they did a great way of building the tension throughout the whole film.
Yeah.
And then speaking of tension, we'll move over to jury number two, or juror number two. This is Clint Eastwood's film starring Nicholas Hoult. Sort of like about morality and can men change their ways and will society let them once they
Yeah.
do change? What were your thoughts on this film and how this one came to a conclusion?
I really enjoyed it. When I going into the film, I genuinely didn't know what it was about. But when I got halfway through it, I was like, okay, I can kind of see where this is going. But it was good, and everybody had such a, did such a good job um, acting. What I will say is that while I was watching it, and I don't really mean this as a slight, but it kind of had the same vibe. I thought it was going to be more depth to it, but it genuinely gave me a vibe of like a really, really good Lifetime movie. That's all I could.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's all I could think. I was like, okay, this is good, but this reminds me of something I've seen on Lifetime. And but no, as for the acting and everybody in the story itself, I was like, wow, this is okay. This is interesting. Let's see how this goes. And as for the conclusion, honestly, that tracks. I feel like that's about right. That's probably something that could happen
mm-hmm.
or would happen today. And then, um, but yeah. And every time I see Toni Collette, I always forget that she's Australian. She's so
Right.
good. Yeah.
She That southern accent she gave
Yeah.
was really interesting. Yeah, I would say like the movie was good. I was expecting a bit more like you said,
Like,
depth or
yeah, like
intricacies,
Edge.
but it just
Right.
sort of like was very simple, kind of laid out like a long episode of like a crime procedure you would have watched
Exactly.
on
Yeah.
TV, which was sort of refreshing because I was preparing myself to like have to like follow like legality terms and all this other
Right.
stuff, but it was sort of like more focused on the inner morality other than sort of like actual legal
Drama. Yeah.
drama. Yeah, it was very interesting. And then Night Bitch, starring Amy Adams. We have her playing a career woman who is now a mother. Finds herself alone with her child as her husband travels for work a lot, and she starts experiencing some bodily changes as she realizes she may be losing parts of herself under this new moniker that society has labeled her. What were your thoughts on Night Bitch?
So I I think it's a really important topic and it's something that's always in articles. It's being talked about a lot more now. Um, love Amy Adams, but what I will say is that I imagine this makes a much better book than movie because I feel like in a book you have time to build this world and take as much time as you need it. This like threw us right into it where we kind of
Mm-hmm.
needed a little bit more build up, I felt. And so for me that kind of knocked it down a few pegs. But as for the acting, that was good, the effects and whatever. But yeah, while I was watching, I was just like, oh, I bet this is a good book. I bet this was a good like a decent book.
Yeah, yeah, because the film does definitely drop right in the middle of of motherhood. Like the
Right.
child's there, and for a while I was like, well, is she single? Like I was like, how is she affording this house and she's not working? And then like the
Right.
husband arrives, like, oh, okay. But yeah, there's some parts that were sort of missing that I would have liked to see, like either her her leaving the career and transitioning, and
Right.
then
Yeah.
seeing how that process was. And I think I was expecting a bit more of the, I guess, horror elements, or sort of like
Yeah.
the, I don't know. I just thought we would see more bodily changes and stuff like that. And I was confused to whether if she was like, I know they were saying like women have sort of this possesses like supernatural element, but I didn't know if like her mom was a witch too and her
Yeah.
grandmother, or that part was a little muddy, like the whole flashbacks with her
And see,
family.
for me, I felt like in a book you could get the details, and this is based on a book. But I
Mm-hmm.
feel like uh, it should have been a bit more gruesome. I felt like a transformation should be almost painful or agonizing. We should be seeing like different teeth coming in, or you know what I mean. It's
Yeah,
just like it should have been more.
she was just the dog. Like it was just like,
Yeah, yeah, and not
and,
even an ugly dog. She turned into like Lassie.
yeah. And I couldn't help but think of like just watching this film, and then just think of the only other time I've seen this would have been like in the '90s, where they remade like Shaggy Dog, where like the dad turns into the dog, and
Yes,
vice versa.
yeah,
Like that's the only other time I've really seen that sort of parallel. It was sort of interesting to see it with the woman and how her
yeah,
feelings toward that. So that was a nice parallel. But yeah, it was a decent movie overall.
yeah. I agree.
All right, those are streams of the week, and now we're going to get into our quarter one movie preview. Um, there's not a lot coming out, or there
Yeah.
is, and there's just not enough information. I don't know.
Do you know what's interesting is that I was thinking about this and I was telling myself there seems to be a good amount of stuff coming out, but we ended 2004 with like a legit bang with Nosferatu, uh, Baby Girl. I know there was something else there. All the stuff that Netflix did, it just and yeah, I was looking through the list and I was just like, oh, okay,
Yeah,
well,
winter is always sort of like a weak point. We don't really kick things off until February, and that's still
yeah,
sort of slim.
right,
I've got a list of like movies I want to watch since like they're coming to streaming and stuff.
yeah,
Um, for instance, I know Unstoppable is on video demand as of January 16th. That's the movie with Jarrell Jerome and Jennifer
okay, yeah,
Lopez. A Different Man is on Max, so we'll definitely check that
yeah,
out. Presence came out January 17th, allegedly. I want to see that. I just don't know where I'm going to see it because it didn't come here. That's the Steven Soderbergh horror film from the perspective of the spirit that's consumed the
yeah,
home.
that's right, yeah,
So that should be different. Um, Wolfman came out. I heard some mixed things about that. And then The Wild Robot comes to Peacock on the 24th if you were looking forward to that. That's what I had for January. Oh, excuse me. Um, and then February, like I said, Captain America: Brave New World is the only thing on my list. Marvel's gonna try to come back.
yeah,
By March, Magazine Dreams is supposed to come out March 21st. This was the film Jonathan
okay.
Majors was filming before
Oh,
his fall from
yeah.
grace. So I'm interested in this. I was interested before. I may be interested again, depending if it comes here or not. So that's basically all I had on my list. Did you have anything different or?
Yeah, I was able to find some things. I had February was the month where I struggled, but in January, the 24th of January, there is a documentary about Liza Minnelli, which I thought could be
Hmm.
pretty interesting. She's kind of like a American icon and has done so much. So to see a story about her life would be really interesting. And then there's a new horror film coming out by Mark Anthony Green, and this is called Opus, and it stars Otto
Ooh,
Edibiri,
yeah.
or Io Edibiri. Juliette Lewis is in it, and John Malkovich, which he's always creepy. And so I'm not really sure of the actual story. I think a pop star goes missing or comes back after being missing for a long time. So
Okay,
that comes out.
I've seen the promo for that on Instagram. It's just like just their headshots or something like that. It's been real
Right.
simple, yeah.
So then that's at the end of the month. And then on the 31st of January, there is Companion, which I kind of
Mm.
seen. Like the guy has like a android who's a woman. I guess I'm not sure it's necessarily like a sexual thing, but it's more of like human companionship, and it wigs out and kind of attacks him. And then on the same day, and this movie I've been hearing for a minute. This is Love Me with Kristen Stewart
Yes,
and
and Steven Yeun.
Stephen Yeun. Yeah, so that finally gets released in theaters. So after like a year, it was on the circuit for festivals like January of 2024. So
Oh
I
wow,
guess it's just been, I don't
been
know, held
waiting.
up. So yeah, that was that. The only thing I saw that kind of interested me in February was The Crow, and I'm honestly not that interested in that. So yeah, and then March, I just saw this trailer the other day. I'm not sure if you've seen it, but The Woman in the Yard.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think that's Daniel Deadwyler too, isn't it? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know anything about it, but a woman dressed in all black turns up to a family's home and sits in the yard with an ominous message. That's literally all like the thing says. So that could be interesting. What else? I saw. Hold on. Yeah, I had to like search, and that was
Yeah, it's kind
tough.
of
The
weird.
only other one I have is Death of a Unicorn, and this is. I thought maybe the Death of a Unicorn was like a meant something else, but no, they genuinely kill a unicorn, and they hit a unicorn with their car. And I saw the trailer, and this one has Jenna Ortega, Will Powder, Paul Rudd, um, and I think
Mm.
I'm not sure who else is in it, but yeah. So that's by A24. So I'm interested
Okay.
in seeing what that's all about.
All right. So it's a pretty good list of things
Right.
to come, and I'm sure once Oscars happens, there'll be hopefully the new movies.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
winter is just always kind of like a
Slow. Yeah.
slow moment. Yeah. But we thank you for listening to this episode of It's a Stream of Life podcast with Brandon and Lauren. We'll catch you in 2 weeks when we come back for our TV segment, and we'll be discussing the first 3 episodes of Apple TV's Severance season 2. So catch us there, and until then, keep on streaming.